And boom, according to that, I am live. Welcome, my name is Hiko Simon. This is Tokyo Tonight. It's 10:30 p.m. Japan Standard Time Sunday, as it always is. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, I'm good. It's been kind of a quiet week, although a lot of topics to go through tonight. So as usual, I'll be racing through Twitter. X. I hate even calling it X, but I'll be going through whatever you call that thing now with the stuff that has been going on during the week. But hoping everyone's doing well. I know it's been kind of crazy in different parts of the world. Of course, the fires in Hawaii getting a lot of attention. Yeah, actually freaky what's happened there. It looks like I'm honestly myself still trying to comprehend how, like, on an island, you could get so many people trapped by the fires. But when you see the videos of how strong the winds and stuff there were, and apparently how dry things were, it's just like people didn't even have a chance to like run towards like the beaches of the water to get away from it. It was so fast, and the wind itself just did so much damage. So hoping that they managed to recover there soon, although it looks like there's been a huge loss of life there. Japan, we've just had our first real big typhoon of the year. It actually came over Okinawa and it backed over it a few times and then went away. There's another one that looked like it was coming to Tokyo, but it sort of veered away west. It's now heading towards sort of Nagoya and Osaka. That's coming here on Monday, Tuesday. Tokyo, the east side of typhoons, always get it a little bit bad, so we'll get some of that, but honestly, for us, it'll just be more sort of cooling off. It'll be some which is still much needed. We had some records broken this week in Tokyo with the highest number of consecutive crazy heat days above 35 degrees. We've now had, I believe, in fact, if you count, was it yesterday? We had another one, so there's been like 18. It used to be there'd be 1 or 2 per year. Now they've become completely normal, and it's going to be more before we go. Even today, it was like 39 degrees in Osaka. So, there's some stuff with that. That's in the topics for tonight. Lots of stuff going on, but hoping everyone's well. Great to see everybody already rocking in. I did check. I think Victor's coming back next week. So we might do a 2.5 Oyajis next week. I think we're scheduling like the last week of the month anyway, which would be the week after that. So we'll do another 2.5 Oyajis soon. I also, by the way, I got hit up today, actually, by Deep in Japan podcast on Twitter, and it looks like I'll be probably recording an episode with them soon. I'll share the links with that, although there again, if you if you watch this, I doubt there's going to be very much mystery left to reveal, but it's always kind of fun to actually talk about the making of this and so on, and it's cool to sort of see what other podcasts are good in Japan. So I should put a link. But you can find them on Twitter as well, Deep in Japan Podcast. It looks like they've got a lot of episodes. I've only just become aware of it myself, so I'm going to listen to a few this week myself. But yeah, so who we got in the comments? We've got Quint Ranked, great to see you as always. We've got Aaron, the moderator, great to see you, Aaron. BTC Chiba, Yahoo, indeed. In fact, that's kind of freaky because I was literally about to type Yahoo only with like a hyphen instead of 2 H's, but Yahoo, yeah, that's I don't know. It's just a Yahoo kind of an evening. Thank you for that. We've got Dan H. Good to see you as always. Shubus, never fear. Shubus is here. He's hot. He's here. He hears us. Shubus is here and everywhere. I hope you're enjoying a nice Panamanian coffee there. We've got Robert Brooker. Greetings and salutations. Yes, our man from Canada, who I know is making preparations for coming here to Japan. I hope you're enjoying that. 3 Richie 21, great to see you. Sergeant Bilko, a man from Sweden, great to see you there. Oh, is my battery low? Why is it kicking in there so fast? Gotta make sure I keep the screen live. We've got the fire sounds so scary with the wind. Indeed, Slake Manson, good to see you. We've got Robert Brooker, Brad F, good to see you, Brad F. Hello. We've got Kerberos Tenchi, good to see you as always. Go get some coffee. Of course, it's late at night in Germany where you are. And everybody else. It's been 3 Richie 21 commenting. Tokyo's been quite crazy with how fast the weather changes in West Tokyo. Every 30 minutes is rain and stop. Well, right now we kind of have a fringe of typhoon weather, so it's been like that. I'm loving it, honestly. Like, compared to it being just relentlessly in the like high 30s, the high 90s, I guess, in American temperatures. We actually have it's actually cooled things off just a little bit. I don't mind the rain at all. I've ran out twice in the rain today, and I didn't even take an umbrella. It's like being in a shower. And it stops and starts, and if it gets really bad, you just shelter for a bit and it passes. So I don't know. I'm digging this myself, but that's just me. We had a bit of a week like that. It's getting into the typhoon season where it gets a bit unstable. September is where it gets good. If you ever want to come to Japan, never come in summer. Which really, or rainy season, frankly, either, which is like from like mid-May. So really between like mid-May and the end of August, just forget about it. September, you're kind of rolling the dice because we still get typhoons, but from late September is the best time of year. And as everybody watching this knows. But yeah, we've just had this week, we're getting into that typhoony type weather with a lot of changeable weather, which I'm enjoying any kind of relief from the heat. Yeah, we've got, remember, if you want to get my attention, do, of course, what Sergeant Bilko did. Say my name, just type it there, it'll flash up orange when I'm scanning over comments, when I'm going back over comments. Those are the ones that I pay extra attention to. And if you've got a comment, a request, a topic, anything like that, I will take that up for you. So, yeah. That said, let's start diving in. There, as always, there are a lot of tweets. There are some weeks I've done it this way, just off going through going through X, and yeah, it's yeah. Sometimes I don't even get through a day. So we'll see how we go with this. And yeah, Japanese Twitter seems to be declining. One of my friends complained about the quality of people on the platform. Japanese alternative of Mastodon called Miss Key is gaining popularity. Well, that's good to know, Dan H. I was hoping that, honestly, like, all I want for Twitter is just for it to be stable, like functioning as a software thing, which Elon seems to be undermining. And this is what I was rooting for, actually. I mean, here's how bad things are, that I'm even rooting for Zuckerberg. I'm rooting for Meta and Facebook. To actually just make a clone of Twitter that's just stable and works, which is what I hope Threads is. But Threads is awful. Mastodon is, there's nice people on there, but it's a really small community and there aren't many updates. And this is a thing as well. Twitter is, of course, I've got 14.4 thousand followers. They don't all shout at me at the same time or else I'll lose my mind. But, it's a good audience. So it's hard to convert over from that. But in terms of the quality of people, well, again, yeah, I don't know what to say about the quality of people. I'm selective. I follow certain lists. I do check the home feed occasionally to see if there's anyone interesting or anything interesting that I should be adding to my list. But I just stick to lists of people who consistently post interesting things. And as a result, I try not to, see all the people who are reposting anime, pornographic pictures and, the trolls and the politics and all the weird stuff. I control my feeds a lot, which is another thing I don't like about Threads, the fact that I can't do that. So, the quality of people, quality of people's a reason, like not to fly economy class, but what can you do, right? We're all stuck in it together. So, but yeah. I don't know. So, certainly, I am rooting for there to be a good alternative out there, and I would support it if it has what I think are pretty minimal and reasonable requests of it, but it's not out there yet. So there you go. So anyway, just even this evening, 35 minutes ago, Unseen Japan posted a tweet that they've just put up. By the way, Unseen Japan, of course, just consistently puts a lot of really well-written and well-researched articles. A lot of people probably... there's a lot of sort of trolls who don't like that they've got like a left-wing, like, tilt on everything, and particularly when they were new, there was a lot of trolling on them. I find their video content is consistently great. They put a lot of work into how they research, and they're very thorough in how they write. And even if they have a perspective on social issues and so on, which personally is generally fine, is aligned with what I think, but even if it's not aligned with what you think, I find that they write great factual stuff, and they're allowed to have opinions about stuff. You don't have to agree with everything that you read if it provides you with good information, which Unseen Japan does. So I haven't read it yet, but I saw the article talking about how the evolution of Shibuya and Shinjuku Station and why they're so hard to navigate. And this is true. When I first moved into central Tokyo, I first lived in Hachioji when I came to Tokyo, but when I started living in Nakano, I lived in Nakano, Shinbashi, which is about 20 minutes walk from Shinjuku Station. And even walking to Shinjuku and going through Shinjuku every day and going there on the weekends, it genuinely took me like 6 months before I could navigate around Shinjuku Station. So that's true. And Shibuya Station, like trying to get like from the Toyoko line to the subway to the Hanzomo line in Shibuya is like, it's a nightmare, you know, trying to get through the tunnels, which they keep changing because of all the construction going on. So yeah, it's a legitimate topic. So I'll be interested to read that. At Comic-Con, with all the, you know, massive comic, you know, Japan's Comic-Con, the original comic anime cosplay event in Japan. There's apparently a post going viral here that you know, somebody's made a sign saying, hey, it's better to pay 540 yen for a drink than it is to pay 85,000 yen to, you know, go to the emergency room for heat stroke. Which is a good way of selling drinks for 540 yen that normally cost 110 yen. I mean, I don't know. I think they should still be calling somebody about the fact they're getting robbed. There again, I mean, in US dollars, that's like $3 US for a drink. That's actually cheap by US standards, but by Japanese standards, that's like 5 times a reasonable price. And they're justifying it by saying, hey, you know, it's like it's like Narcos, where, you know, they'd say plata or plumo, you know, do you take the silver or the lead. Yeah, it's pretty much, they're just admitting that we're, you know, it's hot and we're extorting you for money. What you going to do about it? It's pretty much what the Comic-Con is, Japanese Comic-Con is saying to the attendees. But what can you do? Yeah, hey, Softy Papa, good to see Softy Papa there in the chat. Great to see that you're doing well there. I saw the thing about you jumping into the ocean and seeing a shark. That would make me pollute the ocean in different ways. That was freaky. Well done getting out of there. Yeah, again, some good articles there. One article I was reading just before this, it got me distracted. It's why I was setting up so late. Apparently, Lawson decided for the first time since it was founded, it was apparently in 37 years they brought out Karage-kun, which is like Lawson's famous fried chicken nugget product, Karage-kun fried chicken boy, I guess, Karage-kun. And, you know, I really love the spicy Karage-kun, and it really is very good. There's a big debate in Japan between people who are more into Famichiki, Family Mart chicken, or whether they're into Lawson chicken nuggets. I'm overall a Family Mart person because it's my local, but I love, you know, Lawson, you know, Karage-kun. So although I'm a big fan, not so much of Famichiki, but I'm a fan of the Famichiki Family Mart crispy that they've brought out chicken. The spicy version of that is very, very good. But apparently, anyway, for the first time since 1986, apparently the board, the managers' senior meeting of Lawson had a meeting to decide, based on the increasing cost of materials and so on, that they have no choice but to increase the price of Karage-kun from 216 yen to 238 yen, a 10% increase. The first time that they've ever increased the price of karage. Reportedly, the meeting where they took the decision to increase the price of karage-kun by 22 yen for the first time since 1986. You know, apparently tears were being shed at this meeting over increasing the price of karage by 22 yen. And I get it, they're kind of bragging about how torn up they are about increasing prices. I mean, I don't know, 1986, 216 yen. I don't know. Probably you could buy a Toyota, might have been a bit of a challenge, but you know, granted, Japan hasn't had a lot of inflation the last 30 years. But come on, 216 yen in 1986. Plus, you know, I'm wondering if it really tore them up that much about increasing the price of karage-kun by, you know, 10 yen. What are they going to do when they have to increase wages? So, yeah, you know, I thought that was a sign of the times, although honestly it's pretty modest. I mean, on the one hand, we have inflation everywhere, still relatively modest here. It's about 3%. But yeah, there you go. So yeah. Yeah, Softy Papa, the shark was right in your face, gave you a good start. I mean, you know, I'm surprised actually. Yeah, I mean, as Brad F says, Kurt is old school cool. Yes, indeed. I'm surprised the shark didn't run out of the ocean. But what can you do? Anyway, that was very, very cool. Cobra Stenshi, it would probably be the same as Costco raised the price of their hot dogs. Yeah, I don't know. Well, Costco hot dogs. I've had Costco hot dogs and they're okay, but I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna like rent a car and go out to Chiba to go to Costco again to have another hot dog there. So yeah, the internet, was most most of the discussion was half the people saying no, actually I prefer Fami Chiki, and then there was this whole big discussion about why the hell could 7-Eleven never get a good fried chicken offering to compete with the other two companies, which is kind of true because people generally agree that 7-Eleven is the better of the three main Japanese chains. I do remember I got into one of those sibling debates when I mentioned to my sister how 7-Eleven, when you see it all over Asia, it's all the Japanese convenience stores are rolling out here. She's like, no, it's American. And I said, well, yeah, but the Japanese franchisee, of course, bought out the American parent, as happened with Yahoo. Well, I think with Yahoo it was slightly different. Yahoo still exists separately in America, but of course, 7 and I Holdings, of course, the company that now runs 7-Eleven because it pretty much failed everywhere but Japan. But anyway, convenience store wars. And hell, that was before I even shouted out. That was after I shouted out that the show was starting. So rocketing on through the topics. Checking if there's any comments. No, I can move on. Kind of just another crazy story. Sign of the times. Japan is, of course, getting a lot easier to get citizenship. It's by no means easy, but it's getting easier. As an example of how hard it used to be, you have Taiwanese war vets who are proud of having served in the Japanese military. Very different story to Korea, where they were in very much the same position as Taiwan. Who not only volunteered and fought in the Imperial Japanese Army for Japan, and spent years afterwards in a Soviet labor camp after the war, after which he came back to Japan, settled, and he applied for Japanese citizenship after he decided to come back and live in Japan, and was rejected. This in cases like you talk about these Japanese military veterans holed up in the forests, the jungles of Philippines and so on, didn't even get a pension. So these kind of cases of these people, you talk about anybody who's tried harder than than I would to get Japanese citizenship, literally spent years in a Soviet labor camp for being in the Japanese Imperial Army fighting for the Japanese, for Japan, and then living in Japan permanently, still got rejected. Obviously different times now, but just a sign of how hard that once was. Other interesting topics. Sweden's going and investing in 10 nuclear reactors, just to help with their making progress on climate change. Of course, we all want it to be with windmills and solar panels and stuff. And Sweden, I think, is known for being pretty good at investing in that stuff, but it's also acknowledging that, you can't do everything off intermittent, sources of renewable energy, and, you have to do it economically. And nuclear, I'm not a fan of nuclear energy per se. I'm from a country where nuclear energy is explicitly illegal by law. But I do think if you've got a climate change emergency, which we definitely now have, you have to take the best options, the most two-hand options. I mean, sure, when we have good enough solar and wind and everything to get rid of nuclear, great. But for now, for getting a large country with large power needs, the power that they need without causing carbon emissions, nuclear is the best option for that. And, it makes sense that it's actually pretty pragmatic that Sweden's doing that. Japan and Germany shutting down all their nuclear power plants after Fukushima was been disastrous for climate change. Arguably, it's contributed to this acceleration of climate change that we're seeing through the emissions. Japan's been terrible on this. So, the only big concern I actually have about taking up nuclear power now is between the coup in Niger that happened. Niger is one of, not the biggest, but it's one of the biggest sources of uranium and nuclear fuel for France in particular, which is very all in on nuclear power. And apparently what's happening is with Niger now sort of shut off, the main place to buy nuclear fuel from right now is this, particularly for Europe, is Russia. Not the best place to be buying it from, but there again in the big picture, climate change is the bigger emergency. So there you go. Day and age, doesn't Sweden also burn biomass? I'm not, you know what, I looked at this in 2006 as a policy consultant. Biomass typically counts as renewable, at least as a renewable source. Like it's complicated how biomass is treated. But at least if it's stuff which you would have burned anyway and you're reclaiming energy from it and it's from a renewable source, they do treat it as renewables. But again, not ideal. So yeah. Crypto Airy, that 22 yen raise is relevant to the lack of raising a living wage. Japanese can no longer travel abroad. This is a very bad sign because it just further isolates the country. I know what you mean in terms of Japanese are sort of getting poor in Japan. My overall interpretation of the context of this from the macro pictures, I think that Japan's policy has been to manage the demographic change in Japan by kind of comfortably, soft landing on the river, the airplane of the Japanese economy. It could completely collapse, I think, under the strain at the moment of the aging population and so on, and the inability to sustain public services and so on. And the government's just trying to basically manage Japan quietly into being a middle income country from being a high income country. Actually, there's another tweet coming. In fact, the very next tweet on the screen feeds into that as well. You'll appreciate this. World of statistics, one bedroom apartment monthly rent. And remember, well, there's a thing for this. Tokyo is extremely friendly. There's a huge supply of one bedroom apartments in Japan. It's like a whole thing that university students and people, under 30 who are working and, living on their own. There's a lot of apartments. There's a huge supply of it in Japan, which contributes to how cheap it is as well to begin with. But certainly, sign of the times, a one-bedroom apartment in New York costs $3,789. This is, of course, all in US dollars. Some other cities that stand out, San Francisco. It's kind of funny. I've heard that San Francisco might have been even, and Los Angeles, for example, might be as expensive or more expensive than New York, but they're all up there, $3,200. Going down the list for places that are familiar: Sydney, Australia, 2,114. Canada, 1987. Dollars on average for a one-bedroom apartment. Coming down the list further, we get to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, $1,030. Tokyo, $974. Just a little bit ahead of Shanghai and Mexico City, and comfortably ahead of Cape Town, for example. But Japan, 199th on the list of the average cost of an apartment in the city center. And you know what? Just thinking about this, so 974. That is when I lived in Komabato Daimai for a few years, which is right beside Shibuya Station, and it was a decent sized apartment. It was about 30 square meters. It was a triangle shaped apartment, which got it a little bit cheaper than it would have been otherwise, but that was 97,000 yen, which is like $600. So, you're living in a pretty comfortable, like inside the Yamanote line type apartment, actually, for $974. Typical rent, if you're willing to commute like about, like most people do, about 40 minutes, 50 minutes, you'd be talking more in the range of 80,000 yen, about $500 in most parts of Tokyo. So this is actually, this is not an exaggeration. The 974 that you see there for Tokyo is doing quite well. That's basically 130, 140,000 yen. There aren't many apartments, for single bedroom apartments that cost that much if you look up on apartment searching sites. So, to me, the idea that people are spending $3,789 for a one bedroom apartment in New York is kind of crazy. Like, that tells me that I can't afford to live overseas anymore. I don't see Auckland on the list, but I'm sure it's up nearly as much as Sydney is. And I definitely feel that. It definitely makes it tough. And I was talking with Japanese people in Seattle, and they were commenting as well that it's really hard now to come from Japan. It's like, the idea is leave Japan while you're a student, save as much as you can so you can afford to get educated and so on and get a job outside of Japan, because paying for going abroad based on, expectations of cost and income from Japan is now getting really, really hard. So that's true. Kerberos Tenchi, when you lived in Fujimidai, it was 90,000 yen, but back then it was 88 yen to the euro. So, right, but still, there you go. I mean, it was like less than $700 a month in your apartment, and that's a pretty central location there. So, Dan H commenting that $2,600 for a one bedroom in London seems to be low. So, Aaron also talking about you pay about that much, 974 as mortgage for 2-bedroom house here. Oh, of course, but you're in a slightly more affordable part of America, but still, things aren't what they used to be, although, of course, that's also a sign that Tokyo is cheap as well. So if you want to come and spend some time living in Japan, it certainly is easy to do. An interesting kind of funny. I saw two things pop up in my feed at the same time. One was the hottest new hangout in Shinjuku is Kabukicho. There's eight things to do at the new Tokyo Kabukicho Tower in Shinjuku. I used to take people to Kabukicho to say, hey, you are now standing in the most dangerous place in Japan, to show them that it's not dangerous at all. I mean, even the most dangerous part of Japan is all, there's a lot of dodgy clubs up in the buildings, but it's all controlled by the mob and it's perfectly safe. You see kids, women walking around alone at night, no problem in the streets. This is back like 30 years ago. Lately, it's turning into like a family outing and a date spot. It is getting to be like that. However, you can take the you can take the gangsters out of Kabukicho, but you can't take the Kabukicho out of the gangsters. Does that make sense? I don't think it makes sense. But there was also a story that I saw on my feed at the same time that apparently there's a surging cases of street prostitution in Kabukicho. So I don't know. Maybe that's the ninth thing to do at the new Tokyo Kabukicho Tower. I don't know. Don't do that in Kabukicho. But that is the Kabukicho that perhaps old school people are more familiar with. Yes, yeah, don't do that. I'm enjoying the typhoon weather, so that's a thing. There was a weird ranking today, and actually I sort of dove into it in the replies with some other people looking at this. So this is from the British Post Office Bank Insurance or something. It's basically it's the Post Office Insurance. It's the insurance arm of the UK Post Office. They've done some assessment of risk of all countries in the world, and presumably as an insurance company, they charge people, insurance for traveling solo, and they say these are the top 10 safest locations for solo travelers in the world. Number 1, Seattle. Number 2, Tokyo. Number 3, Portland. Number 4, Vancouver. 5, Copenhagen, Oslo, Cairo, Egypt, Dublin, Zurich, and 10, Singapore. Now, I've been, in the last 6 months, I've been to Seattle, Tokyo, Portland, Vancouver, and Singapore. The idea that I love Seattle, I love Vancouver, I love Portland, the notion that Seattle is safer in any way than Tokyo or even Singapore is, the fact that Seattle's ahead of Tokyo and Portland is ahead of Singapore, I don't know. I think that they're probably weighting their scores incorrectly. There were 10 factors that went into this assessment, apparently including things like the number of police that are around, things like the availability of free public Wi-Fi for people to use, so it's easy to call people if you need help. I don't think they're taking into account that, if there are lots of police, it's possibly because you need them to take all the, the violent drug addicts off of 3rd Avenue and Pioneer Square. It doesn't make it safer, Crime rate is apparently a factor, but some people came in and said, given that they're taking into account lack of free Wi-Fi, I think it's fair. I'm kind of like, I don't know. These are responses to the original post. It's people who responded to me. Some people saying Cairo at 7th safest place in the world has to be a joke because they had bad experiences there, including having a police officer with a machine gun demand bribes from him. If the crime is the police, I guess it cancels out because the criteria include number of police and crime rate. So if it has a high crime rate, that's offset by a high number of police. But they probably didn't think about that it might be the police committing the crime in the case of Cairo. So that's a thing. And, even if they have good Wi-Fi, Tokyo doesn't have a lot of police because they don't need them, right? Because it's safe. So I don't know. This just feels a little bit odd, but entertainment for the day. It's the article introducing it says, oh, we've got a top 10 of the safest cities. It's not what you'd expect. Hell yes. Seriously, when I love Seattle, I love Portland, and I wasn't violently attacked. But you know what? When I was there, people from my company were shot in Seattle. People, when we had a big global meeting, there were 2 or 3 people were attacked by people on drugs. From my own work group. I've never had that in 30 years of living in Japan. Once, at least in a case close to me. It happened every other week in Seattle. When I went to Portland, Portland is kind of a hellscape, frankly, at the moment. And this is the assessment of people, my friends who live there, who I met, and were talking about it and said that they were getting fed up and wanting to leave because the city's gone to hell. So if this is put together by a travel insurance provider, if the UK Post Office is providing insurance, I wouldn't buy their stock. They're about to go out of business. Just a crazy video here of the latest Starlink satellite deployment from SpaceX. I mean, as much as, Elon's crazy and destroying Twitter and everything else. I don't know, that reminds me of that scene from the postquel, the Star Wars thing where they have bombers like actually having gravity in space, which doesn't make any sense, but that looks like what it should have looked like. That looks so cool. I don't know, I could watch that all day anyway, so that's really cool. Gaiji Mummy, as always, just posting awesome pictures of people going out and enjoying the summer. Was this the fireworks or just the festivals around here? I must admit, I'm definitely a Tokyo Tower all the way. I'm not a fan of this newfangled Skytree, but Tokyo Gaiji Mummy, she posts these videos and photos every day, and she's kind of winning me over. They always look awesome anyway. Looking at the comments, Eric Bailey, somebody is cooking those stats like a greasy spoon chef. Seattle, really? Apparently. Yeah, Portland, don't go to Portland. Seriously, like, I've been there, and yeah, I survived. I survived, but the idea that it's safer than Singapore, I mean, yeah, the assessment actually of the original post was, the Japanese comment was, シアトルが東京を抜いて世界で最も安全な都市に選ばれたの記者、その記者の人、多分ドラッグのやりすぎて、やりすぎか、疲労で疲れてるんだろう。The person who decided that Seattle is safer than Tokyo probably was either actually taking too many drugs or is overcome with exhaustion. That's a good assessment. That's what I was thinking. Maybe when they went to do the assessment of the safety of Seattle, the weed and fentanyl just overwhelmed them. How can you possibly? I love Seattle, but how can you possibly think that it's safer? Japanese do everything. They do both sushi and Lego and sushi Lego better than everyone. So what can you do? Softy Papa, yeah, I saw you talking about that. Was the Vandenberg launch. Man, I wish I could have seen that. Yeah, I saw you tweeting about that or messaging about that. That was I would have loved to have seen that. But yeah. Anyway, Typhoon 7 looks like it's going to dodge us, which did remind me of the Onion. The classic Onion. Lately, the Onion's not very funny, but like about 10 years ago when Onion would actually do like mock-up newsroom stories, I think they gave up because the actual news became crazier than what they could think of. But they had the old thing about how Typhoon, there was a hurricane heading towards Texas, slowed by a large landmass to the south. And that's, as a Tokyo resident, what I feel a little bit like with this picture. It feels like Tokyo dodged a bullet. It's just going to a landmass to the south with just, dirt. It's like a huge sandbar and just some cities. Sorry, Osaka, but yeah, this is a serious typhoon, by the way. It's actually gone down. The update I saw was that it's 950 hectopascals, and it's going to get, winds of, they're expecting 75 or 80 meters per second. It's going to be kind of crazy anyway. So that's a thing. Shibuya is finally going to stop renting out videos and CDs that stay in the middle of Shibuya, because apparently even in Japan, analog media, I don't know, does CD count as digital media? I guess it kind of does, but in this day and age here, they've decided the CD rental floors have now been reorganized. Yeah, it's finally closing down. So yeah, they've gone a long way through everywhere else surviving. The state of the idol economy in Japan, some people saying that it's flooded and music companies are struggling to find ways to make profits off of their idol groups, making this new idol group work as taxi drivers. This just feels like a whole new level of exploitation that the business model just never took into account when they were originally planning out how to make money off idols. I mean, paying people to do like handshake events and all sorts of stuff, but actually farming them out as taxi drivers, that just doesn't seem, I don't know, that doesn't seem like a good idea. I saw the story today. Apparently you've heard about Tesla Gate with the Tesla car batteries running down before anyone expected. And I noticed that there was this thing, how Tesla would lie about the range of the cars. You'd charge it fully and it would say, hey, you can go 285 miles. and then like 50 miles later, it says that you have like 50 miles left. And you'd be planning how far you can go to the next charging station. You'd be planning your trip, and you'd be having to, replan because you weren't getting the range that you were expecting. It looks like Apple batteries lately are kind of doing the same thing. The latest phones, including this one, the 14 Pro, apparently normally it takes like about 2 or 3 years before the battery degrades enough that you get down to 90% of the original capacity. But I just checked. I've had mine less than 12 months, and my phone is now at 90% the original capacity. And the phone doesn't get through the day. It runs out of charge within a day. I always have to take charging cables with me. I mean, I get it. It's got a super powerful processor in it. It's got a high resolution, bright screen and everything. There's all sorts of reasons that I know we're putting a lot more on the phones, which I do appreciate nowadays. But the battery tail off is apparently, a lot more extreme, and it's apparently a thing. And when I shared that I'm like at 90% after less than a year, a lot of other people checked, and there were people at 86%, 88%. So you might want to check your phone. You can check in the settings on the iPhone, battery health, and it will tell you how much capacity is left of your battery from when you bought it. And not only that, but apparently someone else was tweeting that apparently every 2 years they take it into the Apple Store and they get the battery swapped, which apparently you can do. And I checked the cost for my phone to swap the battery would cost 14,000 yen, so about $100. But you pay nowadays you pay more than 100,000 yen for a new phone. So honestly, if the phone is performing fine and the only issue is the battery life, it does actually make economic sense. You could probably draw out buying a new phone after 2 years and make it 4 years or 5 years and go put a new battery in it. It's a lot cheaper than buying a new phone. So I must admit, that gave me the idea. It's a pretty good idea. Worth checking out your battery health. And if you're thinking about upgrading only because the battery sucks, apparently that's something you can do that I've never done before. But I'll be tempted, honestly, because lately the improvements on these phones are not really enough of a leap, even after a couple of years. I think this upgrade, I actually had a 10. I went 4 years, and I'm definitely a 2-year upgrade type of a person. So, anyway, that was interesting. Aaron asking, is it a brand new battery or a refurbished one, though? I don't know, but apparently they'll give you a new battery. I mean, again, if everyone starts complaining about what the battery health is saying, I'm pretty sure Apple's going to change how it appears. But apparently, I assume, for 14,000 yen, I'd hope it's a new battery. But we'll see. And that's actually, still pretty expensive when you think about it for a lithium battery. When you can get like a charger pack from Amazon for like, $10, $15, which will have like 30,000 whatever the unit is for battery storage. So it's less than that. So I think they better not be refurbishing the batteries that they're putting in. Other crazy stuff, apparently the Lake Biwako fireworks, I talked about this before, that they're attempting to earn money for the fireworks, the first fireworks since the pandemic, by putting up a 4-meter wall to stop non-paying people from being able to see the fireworks. I thought the whole point of fireworks is you're supposed to be shooting them up into the sky and enjoying them, and the whole idea of shooting them up into the sky and enjoying them is so that everyone can see them. So the idea that you're trying to monetize this and putting walls, well, one, you're going to need a much higher wall. The obvious solution to me is, if they really want to make sure only paying people can see the fireworks, they should just load them into bazookas and fire them at shoulder height towards the people who are paying. Well, I get it. Otsu, from Shiga's trying to get their money back on this for the Biwako fireworks, but that seems kind of absurd. It's literally the nothing to see here thing that I talked about last week. That for a 2-kilometer stretch, they're putting up a 4-meter wall to stop people being able to see the fireworks that they are shooting into the sky and exploding. That's just kind of crazy. So that's a thing that's happening. There's a case. So apparently, not apparently, even some people might remember a few years ago there was a big Ginza a jewelry store heist involving a whole bunch of foreigners. And apparently, they somehow escaped the country and got away, and they tracked down one of the robbers in the UK, and they put in an extradition request to the UK to ask them to send this jewelry thief, the Pink Panther, to send him over to Japan, because they've got him on video in Ginza robbing the store. However, Japan only apparently has 2 extradition treaties in the world. It only has extradition treaties with South Korea and with the United States. It doesn't have extradition treaties with anyone else, and I suspect this is as much to do with Japan not wanting to oblige itself to send Japanese citizens to foreign police and foreign jails as much as anything else. So apparently, they make the request and the other country decides on a case-by-case basis. The UK courts decided that no, there's no extradition treaty, and we're not satisfied that Japan would detain a charged criminal with European standards of human rights protection. So no, it's kind of it drew attention in Japan that it was being cited that Japan's human rights record came up, and why that. I mean, fundamentally, it just came down to there not being an extradition treaty, and that's because Japanese government doesn't want to send Japanese bank robbers to the UK. You have this, and Japan's had all sorts of fusses in the past with people that it should have deported, then it didn't. So there you go. Quick look at the comments there, by the way. Let me go up. Did I miss a few here? Here we go. Dan H. Hikosimon or Erin, is worth saving some money booking hotels in Japan that are for smokers. In my experience, when you get a smoking room in Japan, it's probably improving a lot now, but when you used to book a room that was okay for smoking, they would smell so bad. It's almost like a green light to smoke in the room. So in my experience, it's worth paying the extra not to go in. That's just me. I'm sure you'd save some money, but I'm not sure that it's worth it. It's up to you, but that's what you get if you pay for that. Cobra Stenchi, with their ages, it's better that way. Usually the companies exploit 8 to 14-year-old idols. Well, yes, I guess now they're putting them out. I mean, there's all sorts of ways that they're putting them out to work, but yeah, that still is kind of dodgy. DJ Sunny Side Up, great to see you in the comments there. Bazooka Hanabi. Army brat. When I was a kid, when we used to have fireworks, army fireworks are something else. I've seen. I remember I used to live by a beach in army and military housing, and the army guys come up with their large duffel bag full of illegal fireworks, and they were literally loading skyrockets into bazookas and firing them at boats. And of course, because they're military, they were also hitting them. I'm surprised they didn't start any major fires, but that was my childhood. Good times. Guy Fawkes, the night that, yes, we celebrate every year in the United Kingdom and some Commonwealth countries commemorating the night that someone tried to blow up Parliament. It started out as a bonfire night where we celebrate setting fire to the traitor Guy Fawkes, but in truth, it's a night when we all like to remind the government that we could have taken all of this gunpowder. We all would have lit it. Any one of us would have lit it. That's kind of the joke about Guy Fawkes. But yes. Anyway, carrying on. Again, the Japanese passport falls to third place. Singapore is now the best passport to have in the world. Dan H. I haven't had a new crazy story of Saitama as of late. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we're Tochigi, Utsunomiya, city on fire. There was a time when Utsunomiya just would produce crazy stuff. Yeah, I can't think of, maybe there's one in here, but not off the top of my head. DJ Sunny Side Up, yeah, I posted a few kickboxing vids. I don't put those on YouTube, I put them on Facebook and Instagram, but if you follow those, it's kind of nice. I can at least check my form, and since I took the video, figured out why not post it, but yeah, having a lot of fun with that. Want to get back into sparring a bit. So yeah, that's been fun. Going down here, yeah, I cancelled yesterday. I cancelled Netflix and Disney Plus because both haven't had anything good for ages. Disney Plus, Andor was the best thing on Disney Plus, and there's been nothing that's come close to it for a long time now. And there's nothing new with the writers' strike and the actors' strike. It's hard to see Netflix or Disney coming up with anything really compelling that I want to see in the near future. And when there is, I recontracted with Netflix because I wanted to watch Black Mirror. And I watched a couple of things, but there wasn't very much good, so I cancelled. It was easy to cancel Netflix, but Disney Plus in Japan, apparently they when I joined, they set up with a Docomo NTT account or something, which is something set up by NTT, which is almost like deliberately hard to cancel. And I'm not even sure that I actually succeeded at cancelling. But I did that. Apparently lots of other people said that they've had similar problems where it's basically, it blocks you from cancelling them. So We'll see how that goes, but yeah, I'm going to complain loudly if that doesn't work. So we'll see what happens. What passport is second place? Good question. It's funny because Japan is third, Singapore is first. So how does it go? So Germany, Italy, and Spain tied for second, with their passports giving visa-free access to 190 locations. I feel like Europe's kind of cheating on this, by the way. I mean, it is what it is. Of course, when you have visa-free travel to everywhere else in Europe, well, of course you do, because you're basically given up, you're having shared sovereignty. I mean, it's kind of arguable that Europe is becoming like the United States of Europe now, and treating us like, imagine if America got 50 countries like added for free onto its list, because if it treated visa-free travel to every state in the United States, it's kind of getting like that for Europe. It's not quite there. But yeah, so there we go. The EU countries, of course, get a little bit of a boost by being in the EU, and they came in second. So there you go, Aaron. And Guy Fawkes was Italian. I did not know that, actually. Well, anyway, he's celebrated now. So yeah, so canceling was a nightmare, but I think I've done it. This whole Zuckerberg, yeah, Bill Gates, DJ Sunny Side Up, of course, you've seen me training for kickboxing. I'm planning to call out and challenge Bill Gates to a cage fight. Where the loser has to give up like 10% of their net worth to the other person. I think that would be. I mean, this whole back and forth of Zuckerberg and Elon like talking about the cage fight that they're going to have. I can't believe, if you've seen the movie Idiocracy, they thought that to make that movie plausible, they had to set it 500 years in the future. That movie was made like 10 years ago. We're already there fully. This is so stupid, and I never thought that there'd be any circumstance where I would like support Zuckerberg on anything, but I'm kind of on his side for this. And God, would I watch? I'd hate it, but I'd watch. I'd go like this, and I'd watch. I'd hate myself for doing it, but God damn! I mean, seriously, please. We're trying to have middle age, martial arts, fitness, healthcare, and peace. Well, stop making a spectacle of yourselves, lads. But anyway, Shubis, Americans will soon need a visa for Europe. Quinn Rankin, I thought Idiocracy was a documentary. Yeah, honestly, I think it's more of a prophecy. But yeah, Lysander 45, good to see you. And you got Disney Plus for the Marvel shows, but you keep it mostly because your sister has access to your Disney Plus account and she likes to watch the old Disney movies. Yeah, I'm not a big Marvel person, so that's the thing. I'm more into the Star Wars content, and that was pretty good. I like the Mandalorian and stuff, but even that, that's going to dry up soon. So I'm happy to come back into to rejoin when there's good shows on again. But yeah, Dan H asks, you would fight your twin, John Danaher. Is John Danaher, is he the basketball coach? Who's John Danaher? I feel like I have to look it up now. Someone tell me, who's John Danaher, please? If it's the Japanese basketball coach, yeah, I would agree. I thought I was looking at myself. Seriously, even I thought that, So yeah, I feel like taking credit for the boxing, for the basketball team, if that's it. Chess boxing, yeah, not really good enough at either, but it's interesting to see. Yeah, the Women's World Cup is going good. It's a shame, of course, that Japan lost, but good game against Sweden. Great to see Australia doing well, getting to the semi-finals. I hope they beat UK. That'd be great. My first reaction to the idea of a cyberpunk restaurant bar in Shinjuku that serves post-apocalyptic food. I mean, that literally, people are commenting like that literally sounds like they're selling like expired cans of beans, which. Yeah, it doesn't sound good immediately, but the overall concept actually seems pretty cool. It seems like a good idea. John Danaher. Okay, I gotta click on the link. Thank you, Aaron. I gotta find it. Who is John Danaher? Martial artist. Okay, must be a good-looking guy. From New Zealand. Ugh, but I can't see a picture of the guy. Okay, he sounds like he would kill me. He went to my university. Well, there we go. He learned Muay Thai. He's from Auckland. God, he could be me. Seriously, this actually sounds like. Okay, since we've gone this far, I've got to look him up. John Danaher. Let's look at images. Hopefully, he hasn't done any porn. Yeah, there's a similarity. Let's He's a good-looking man. I mean, BJ. I thought for a moment that said BJ Fanatics. Thank heavens it didn't. Anyway, so back into it. That kind of seems like a cool place to go visit. Anyway, a slight resemblance, yeah. Apparently, if you're interested in for tourism in Kyushu, that where you can go see explosions. I can't believe this wasn't Kitakyushu. I've talked about Kitakyushu before, the city that Taro Aso's from, that has a problem with hand grenade attacks. And I thought that Southwest Japan city launching explosion tours, how is this not Kitakyushu? Apparently it's Kagoshima, where they take you to movie sets where they can show pyrotechnics and let you experience that. Yeah, no, story I could not believe is not Kitakyushu. So there you go. There have been much fewer grenade attacks by the, was it the Kotogumi? The Yakuza gang down there, known for being especially violent. Fewer attacks. So, you know, Kitakyushu is doing well, and it turns out the only explosions in Kyushu are now from actual managed pyrotechnics, so that's a good thing. The Nerve Earthquake app is leaving X because it's broken all the APIs and it's crap, so there you go. The Sergeant Bilko, maybe I am John Danaher in disguise. It's possible. It's possible. My Argonauts. Good evening. Wow, you're 50 minutes late. No, you're coming fashionably late just when the party's warming up. We've got 7 minutes. I'm 1 day in. I've got to get through 6 more days in 7 minutes. So double timing now. Okay. Tokyo has lots of cooling solutions. That is true. This palm chocolate I've been looking for everywhere. It came out in April when I was still in America. I haven't seen it anywhere, and it looks like, even though it still is like 39 degrees everywhere, they're already ending all of the summer limited edition stuff. Serious chocolate disappointment this year, and I've even where I've found like palm chocolate, I haven't found the chocolate anywhere. I'm very upset. Not quite butter upset, but I'm close. I'm like 70% butter upset about the lack of chocolate this year. So that's a thing. Munio Suzuki, I've talked about before. He's a Russophile. He's basically, he was arrested for corruption involving using Japanese overseas development aid to the occupied Japanese islands that Russia has, the Southern Kuril Islands. And he still is continuing to sort of lobby to be the voice of Russian saying that, you know what, all those war crimes that Russia committed look faked, and everyone should recognize that the sanctions have no effect and Russia's going to win, so we should just support Russia. And, you know, he was in jail for a long time. He's out of jail. I think they should put him back into jail. I don't know. Pretty cool to see that there was the Virgin Galactic thing. I would love to do space tourism. This still looks like such a small plane, and there's so much demand that I don't see how I'm going to be able to like do regular tourism in that sort of a setup. It's cool though. Plus, I love the Antigua flag. I mean, that's just a small thing, but yeah, the first Antiguans in space, so that was pretty cool. Oh yeah, Yamap. I found a new good hiking app called YAMAP that is getting all this information. That they'll even help rescuers find you. They'll store your location from when you last were, when you had connectivity, and they'll provide that to rescuers if you get lost. And it looks like for if you talk about ultrails like people use in America for hiking, if you want the Japanese equivalent of that and you want to go proper like mountain hiking in Japan, Yamap is the app. I installed it and it looks really, really good. You have to, of course, pay for all the information, but there. My dad wasn't in the Air Force. My dad was in the Special Air Service for a time, and he was in the infantry. And he did not like Air Force. I mean, seriously, the New Zealand combined armed forces have like 6,000 people. They shouldn't be fighting. They're practically all related to each other. They shouldn't be fighting. But yeah, the New Zealand Air Force, where we were flying surplus Vietnam Iroquois helicopters, Iroquois, and Skyhawk jets, A4 jets. The only serviced A4 jets in the world, and we gave those up. So we don't actually have fighter jets anymore in our Air Force. But, you know, unless the sheep learn how to fly, New Zealand's going to be fine. I shouldn't say that because John Danaher looked like he could beat me up. Black Tengu, good to see it. Better space tourism than deep sea tourism, although they're kind of similar. I mean, you know, yes, although I must admit, if I was going to take my life into my hands, I'd much rather take it into my hands going into space than I would getting crushed below. Quinn Rankid, yes, that's why I was born in Papakura, which was a SAS camp, and I grew up in Portsea, which is the Australian SAS. Is where they have Australian SAS camp. So yeah. So yeah, apparently you can have an illegal moving business. I didn't. Apparently you have to be registered with the government. A Korean company's been like illegally moving houses for people. So that's a thing. Um, Russian planes apparently because they can't get parts for their Airbus planes, they're going to stop using brakes. Apparently, which is to say, for landing they use like wheel brakes. They don't have the parts to replace that, so they're just going to use air brakes going forward. So in Russia, a plane stops you. Um, yeah, Japan. Japan is continuing to use coal. They're making it apparently slightly less polluting by adding ammonia to it. I don't know if that means that they're actually urinating on the coal or they actually got ammonia from some other source, but apparently it does help with the emissions. But there again, they really should turn on the nuclear power plants, of course, with the enhanced safety standards. But yeah, DJay Sunny Side Up got a little bit of heat stroke, 38.9 degrees after surfing for 2 days in the dead heat. Oh man, should have slept in the van with the AC on and took a nap and drinking lots of water. Oh man, that's crazy. I'm sorry to hear that, but hope that you're feeling better. It's a crazy time of year. As Aaron said, remember to like if you like this. I've got 2 minutes to speed go through 4 days. I'm actually I'm getting up there, but yes, I don't monetize these videos. I just do it purely for likes. So 15, there we go. Good to see. Do like if you like. I do appreciate it. Yeah, Operation Throw Taro Kono under the bus. As I said, it was kind of genius to put Taro Kono in charge of the My Number system because either he miraculously makes it all work and the Prime Minister can claim the credit from his political main rival for leader of the LDP, or it all falls in a crashing, burning trash heap, as you would have expected and has actually happened, and you get to blame him for everything messing up, and then you win as well because he's your main rival. So he's just announced in September he's going to, right now the popularity of the Japanese government is tanking as it usually does. And so the Prime Minister said, yeah, we're going to reshuffle one or two cabinet positions. It's clearly this is Operation Throw Taro Kono under the bus to boost your popularity and make him take the fall for the My Number system disaster that's been happening. So that's a thing that's happening. Yeah. Osaka Expo, they haven't actually started building any of the sites yet, and people are now worried that they won't actually have anything ready. That's not the mascot. That's actually a photo of the CEO, and that's why it's being run so badly. However, you'll be able to buy tickets from November 30. I'm sure it's actually going to be pretty good, and it's worth sort of doing, but there are no pavilions actually set up yet, so that's a problem. Hey, Kustos, good to see you. The break story, they're out of missiles, they're out of shells. I don't know, is that propaganda? I don't even care. It seems kind of fun. I mean, I must admit, I've never heard of this. Aeroflot deactivates brakes on 9 aircraft, relies heavily on reverse thrust. It sounds like Aeroflot. It doesn't sound. This sounds like something that Russia would do even outside of the war. But I don't read it as war-related propaganda. It could be. Who knows? But I don't know. For things that I've heard about, like and not just Russia, of course. I mean, hell, you talk about airline safety. I mean, Ukraine actually shot down a real airliner. All of these, CIS countries have had problems with airplane maintenance. So it's more in that sort of a context. But there you go. Yeah, Japan sent its most gaffe-prone politician, Taro Aso, to go over to Taiwan. Apparently, they wanted to actually provoke China as much as possible, so they deliberately sent Taro Aso over there, who put out 2 statements saying that Japan should fight to hold off China and defend Taiwan, and America should help out, pretty much to just inflame China as much as possible. So they were pretty much deliberately like aiming the gaffe cannon at China, knowing that it would provoke them. This guy pointing out a little bit that look at all the trouble Japan goes to in order to allow people to continue to use cash, instead of modernizing monetary payment systems. A lot of people came back and said, well, of course, the whole thing with the payment systems at 7-Eleven is that you can pay 30 different ways, literally, including cash, which, you have a lot of places in America where they're not even accepting cash anymore, which is an inconvenience for people that can't get credit cards and so on. So Japan, you can actually arguably do everything. It's because people still rely on that sort of thing. That said, poor old Glenn, he got a little bit beaten up by the internet over that. I didn't think he deserved to get beaten up at all, actually, but yeah, that was a thing that got a little bit of a backlash on Twitter. Racing through, we're 4 days back. Apparently, Fuji is now going to restrict. Mount Fuji is going to start restricting the trail when it's getting overcrowded, which is like all the time. I mean, they're only doing this now, but it's good news. They should be doing that. What else have we got? We've got, yeah, Dance was at it again. Prince Harry was in Japan, apparently supporting some sort of weird religious cult. So there you go. Royalty in this photo. For me, that's the person on the right, Dan Carter, New Zealand rugby legend. Harry I'm sure Harry was very excited to be on stage with Dan Carter. What else have we got here? If Typhoon 6 was a car, it would be charged with intentional homicide. Look at this. Runs over Okinawa, and then it backs up, driving Okinawa, and then it goes forward over Okinawa and actually a little bit of Amami Oshima and Kagoshima again. I mean, that looks like it's doing it on purpose. I don't know. That's a badly behaved typhoon. Huge scandal over Nihon University's American football team after a student there was found after a raid on the student dorm at Nihon University. They found 0.02 grams of marijuana in the person's room. I'm impressed. I'd like that dog that must have found that. I mean, that's a good boy. That dog. I mean, how do you find 0.02 grams of marijuana? They also found some meth, which he says was just like a buy one get one free from the drug dealer. I don't know. As a result, of course, the country's losing its mind. Japan University, Nihon University has been in a bunch of scandals, so over governance. So this is the fact that also they didn't report the kid to police for a long time is a problem. Tenchi, since most Russian airplanes are either Boeing or Airbus, and the embargo is prohibiting them from buying spare parts, they already bastardized all their airplanes. Really, did I see the ending of Pasco? I don't even know what Pasco is. Sorry, Aaron. They won't even let me get one in July. I don't know. I'm missing that. I'm gonna race through. Androvsky, thanks for the information. Yeah, I have an idea that must be like incredibly small. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna do. Oh, Pasmo. Did I see the ending of Pasmo? No, Pasmo is awesome. If that's the one that you mean. We're over time. Was there anything else significant here? Oh, yes. Apparently, the head of Japan's Kinki Nippon Tourist Agency is to resign over overcharging, and kinky tourists from all over Japan are extremely disappointed in the president overcharging. Still my favorite tour group. When I used to work at a souvenir shop in New Zealand, we would always look forward to the KNT tours, and they would always come up and, if they said that they're from a book tour, they would get like a 10% discount. So you get these lovely old couples would come up to you and they'd say, "Hello, I am Kinki Nippon Tourist." And we had to keep a straight face because they would literally say that, and we'd have to give them a 10%. I mean, I figured they earned it. Well, they kind of earned it saying that they were kinky tourists. It's possible I gave a 10% discount to people without without them actually even being signed up to the tour. They just heard that was the secret password, but that was a thing that actually happened. So there you go. The anniversary of the A bombings. Wow, I didn't even talk about that. I've talked about that every year. Of course, it's not Hate America Day. It's this is a terrible thing that happened and shouldn't happen again. Hopefully, it won't happen again day. But those were both commemorated. Yeah, loving the sort of weird cloudy weather that we get at the start of typhoon season. So that is definitely a thing. And final one, the crazy heat days. So this is a graph of crazy heat days. They actually literally call it. It's a meteorological term in Japan. They term days with a high temperatures above 35 degrees Celsius as a crazy heat day, moshobi. That's literally what they call it. And we used to get 1 or 2 per year back in as late as the 1980s, 1970s. It was rare that there would be more than one. Some years there was 0. And lately, we're now up to 17. At the time that this was a new record, we got to 17, which was a record, but we've had more since then, and we look like we're going to have more in the future. So this is more to do with the heat island effect of Tokyo than it is climate change, but climate change is of course feeding into it. I've talked about this a lot before, but it's no imagination that Tokyo is getting crazy hot. So do take care, everybody. We're well over time. That's 6 minutes over time, so I am going to call it there. But thank you for keeping me company. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter if you want to be in touch. I'll post some links about this podcast I'm joining this week. I should be back next week, possibly with Victor. It could be a 2.5 voyage, so I'll post updates about that on Facebook and Twitter when I know about that. And thanks for keeping me company, everybody. Have a good week. Do stay safe, stay warm if you're in the southern hemisphere. Stay cool if you are in the northern hemisphere. And kakitano, peace. Have a good one. See ya. Any stream. Ending now.